You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Roberts and I'm joined this afternoon by Ashley Priest and Pat Rowe. Ash, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, I'm well. Spoke to Gerrard a short time ago, so lots to go through, mate. But yeah, all's good.
Lovely stuff, Pat. You've been to the gym, so how are you? Are you aching yet?
Yeah, I am. But yeah, I'm excited. It's been an exciting few days covering Villa.
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. I've actually made some notes for a change. I know we're going to do a bit of a transfer special, the state of play for the transfer window, whatever I've decided to title this later down the line. And I kind of forget that there's the game against Man United coming up because it's a Monday night, which is, again, is still weird. So let's get that out the way, first of all, I guess. And you just said Ash, you spoke to Gerrard earlier today, his pre-Man United presser it was. First of all, how was he, and what kind of vibe did you get from him? What kind of mood was he in? And we'll talk about Man United first.
Yeah, Gerrard was very relaxed today. I've seen a few clips. He's speaking to Sky Sports reporters and the broadcast section. He goes, I could be here all day if you want. If you want to keep asking me Coutinho questions and stuff like that, I'll give you the same answer. So he was quite funny today, Gerrard. Very, very, very good. Very relaxed, and he's pleased to get his teeth stuck into a match on Monday at Old Trafford, a place we'll probably get a bit of stick at as well. But Gerrard has very good value today. He's looking forward to the challenge ahead and didn't give too much away as he normally doesn't, to be honest. But his Coutinho answers were very funny, and they're quite telling as well. I think Villa. It's clear that Villa are in for him, and Gerrard didn't bat them questions away. So yeah, lots to take from it, and Villa will be boosted by the return of Ollie Watkins and Tyrone Mings on Monday as well. So all's well in the Villa camp at present.
There's loads of comments coming through already asking about Coutinho and transfers and all that kind of stuff and our thoughts on various players. We will get to that very shortly. Let's just have a couple more minutes on Manchester United. Obviously, second time we'll be going to Old Trafford this season. We've already won there once. Gerrard did again today, and as a couple of times has mentioned about going strong in the FA Cup and wanting to go far, and having a cup run is a good thing to build confidence and stuff like that. Pat, if you were picking the team for Monday, what kind of side would you select?
As I recall it, last time I went to Old Trafford, Danny Ings had quite a good game, I think. And after his display at against Brentford, I think him and Buendia, it'd be interesting to see if they start again, build up some chemistry. If Coutinho signs before then, who knows? Maybe he'll make an appearance. But I'm going to the game, so I'm quite excited about seeing it. I didn't watch the United versus Wolves game, but I've got a mate who's a Wolves fan. He said they absolutely battered them from start to finish, and I think that's a bit of that's what everyone's been saying, to be honest. So I think it's a good time to have United twice in a week, to be honest.
It's interesting that Gerrard has asked about whether Jed Steele's starting goal. He said he hasn't made his mind up yet, but I expect it to be Martinez in goal. I'd go really strong. I'd go as strong as possible. The only dilemma Villa have, like Pat mentioned, where does Ollie Watkins fit back into the team? So, I mean, I've noted down a quick 11 here. I've got Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Mings and Target. I think Ashley Young's fractured toe is giving him some jip. So I'd like to see Ashley Young back in it if he can, but I think Target probably fits in there given Young's injury. I'd like to see Morgan Stanton get a start. He didn't have a start at Brentford. I think this is a good chance and a big pitch at Old Trafford to get about a bit, get some match minutes into his legs. So I'd say a change in midfield. Whether that Douglas Reed drops out probably, or Jacob Ramsey, one of them two. But yeah, McGinn, Sanson, and then one of Jacob or Douglas, and then it's up front. What do you do up front? Buendia and Watkins behind Ings. It hasn't worked previously with Watkins in that position, so I'm intrigued to see what people make of the attacking formation Villa will go with. But I think it goes strong. And I think Watkins comes back in, likewise Mings.
Yeah, I think you go strong. I don't imagine Man United play their first 11 in the third round of the Cup. Obviously, there's problems at Man United at the moment with them. I saw an article the other day about kind of senior players at the club not being sure whether Rangnick's it's not right with the right man for the club and stuff like that. So good time to play them twice in a week, like you mentioned, Pat. It's kind of stupid hypothetical question here. If you could only win one of the two, the cup or the league game, which one would you pick?
I'm still going for the league. I want to progress as much as we can there. I am. I love the cup, and I'll never field a weakened side in there. But I would go for the league. I want that 8th spot above.
If I could only win one, I'll win the cup. I feel like you're the same, Ash.
I am, yeah. Cup win.
Yeah.
We beat Man U on Monday. I don't mind. Yeah, I'll go for the cup.
Very quick prediction for Monday, and then we'll talk about transfers.
I think it'll be a 2-0 win because they've got a few suspensions, I think. I don't know if they're available for that game. And I think they'll put a weekend side out, and I think we'll do them.
Yeah, 4-0 Villa. Watkins will Phil Jones ragged. Full zip. And Radnick will resign after.
I'll note the time down for that to clip it out after that happens. Obviously, a big talking point in the press conference was Coutinho. I saw a clip on Sky, and I think it was the first question that was asked. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ash. That's the big talking point at the moment. As you said, Gerrard kind of batted it away. But the thing that I noted is that this is such a bizarre thing to note, but he reeled off the number of caps that he had for Brazil. Yeah. It's like a very specific thing. Like he's got 63 caps for Brazil, and I was thinking that's the thing you only know if you've done your research. Like, that's just like a thing that we don't know anything about Coutinho. Like, yeah, he's a good player, but whatever. To know how many caps he had for Brazil specifically, made me think, well, they've clearly done the research on this guy. Yeah. I mean, who else could you name with how many caps they got for another country? I mean, that's such a minor thing to read into, but it tickled me. Obviously, went on to kind of wax lyrical about him, called him a magician, all these kind of things. So let's get our thoughts out of the way first before we go on to the kind of realism aspect of this transfer. Would you take Coutinho, Ash?
Yes, if you're asking me, yes, I would take him. Just a high caliber player, isn't he? I'm trying to think of one that would such a high profile signing Villa have had in recent years. I can't think of one. Maybe Juninho when he would have come in the 90s. And just such a what a sign it'll be. A statement of intent. Just everything about him. I know he's not at his peak at the moment, but I think Gerrard's the man who can get it out of him, and I think he'll rub off on the other players in the squad as well. I think Wendy would improve tenfold working with him as well. Lots of Ramses, and I think it'd be such a big signing to pull off. I'd snap your hand off for him. The only question now is can Villa get the deal done with the wage packet, and what are Barcelona saying? But as it stands, Villa are front runners. I've seen a piece over in Newcastle with the Chronicle and our colleagues. Coutinho's been offered to Newcastle as well. So clubs are in for him, but I think the Gerrard factor, the Gerrard pull, I think that may just get it over the line, And I mean, it's an exciting one. You can't not be excited. I've seen the highlight reels. I'm on board with Gerrard with this one. I think an exciting one. It could be a real coup. And he's got something to prove as well. The Qatar's at the end of the year. He needs to be performing well. And I think Villa could be the place for him, Really excited.
Yeah, we talked on the last episode about like a loan signing in the forward areas of Lingard or Dele Alli. If it's Lingard, Dele Alli or Coutinho every day of the week over those two for me. Yeah. How much do you think will be a factor, the Gerrard factor, Pat? I think that from what I've seen, I think it was BBC Sport. They've linked him with Newcastle, Everton, Arsenal, Spurs. I think maybe one other unnamed club, which you would assume is Villa. Arsenal Spurs, you would wonder about game time maybe for him going there. Wages for Spurs, I don't know whether Daniel Levy would do a deal like that. Mm-hmm. Newcastle obviously got money to spend, and if he goes there, it's a money factor. But then you think, well, they're bottom of the league, it's a relegation battle. Is that something you want to get involved with? And Everton is the obvious Liverpool link, isn't it? So Villa are a serious option there. And then obviously when you factor in the Gerrard thing as well, how important do you think that will be?
I think there's two major factors in why. I wrote a piece on it earlier about why we're a perfect match for him, to be honest. I think his time at Liverpool, Gerrard was really close to him. I think it was Luis Suarez's last day of his time in Liverpool, and he told Gerrard, he went, you need to look after Coutinho. And then after that, I think if Gerrard was injured or Gerrard was suspended or anything, he'd always make sure to look after, like text Coutinho or something. And then there was a report from ESPN, I think, that said Coutinho is quite a shy player, so he's found it quite hard to settle in different stages of his career. That's probably why he struggled in a bit of a turbulent time at Barca a bit. But in terms of settling in a club, I think the factor of Gerrard, like you said, that he kept texting him and stuff, I think it'll be a big factor. And then there's the added point that at Barca, he was kind of brought in to replace Iniesta, in centre mid. And that's not really his position. He needs the ball at his feet in the final third and on the left side. And if you're talking about sides that have lost a ball carrier on the left side of the pitch that want their attack to run through that, I think it's pretty obvious that Villa have a gaping hole in that area. So I think that's two major factors that it kind of makes perfect sense, to be honest. I mean, the other comments you look at are he's 29 and he hasn't really hit the heights that everyone thought he would after the 142 million transfer. But I mean, 2 years ago, he was on loan at Bayern and I think it's 23 appearances, 8 goals, 6 assists. If he does that in the second half of the season for Villa, it's a similar impact to Lingard and everyone's, raving about him. So it's 100% for me. I think if we can get him firing, I think and I back Gerrard to do that. I think it's just an amazing signing.
Yeah, if your club career is Liverpool, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Villa, you're still a good player, aren't you, to go through those clubs to end up at Villa afterwards. I was going to make a point there about where he fits in, but you've kind of said about the not kind of number 10 left-hand side, which makes perfect sense with Gerrard's system. Kind of something very bittersweet about the fact that pretty much every interview Jack Grealish has ever done mentions about how he based his game off Coutinho, and now we're replacing him with Coutinho. It's so strange. You mentioned there about being 142 million move, which is massive. His wages, someone just saying in the comments, is 380 grand a week. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But you'd imagine it's a massive amount, whether we're paying the full amount, the loan fee. I think Barcelona want a kind of mandatory future fee put in there, and whether that's a stumbling block. So as everything with these kind of podcasts, we're talking now about it as if, we're really excited, when tomorrow we tune into this podcast and we realise that the deal's off and he's going to Newcastle or whatever. So take everything with a pinch of salt to a degree. Is there anything that concerns you about him, Ash, in terms of fitness and form, stuff like that, that he isn't the player that he was at Liverpool? But just because you don't fit in at Barcelona doesn't mean you won't fit in at Aston Villa.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's lost his way at the new camp. I think Xavi's made him available to leave, hasn't impressed. And it's confidence is everything, isn't it? You rediscover your confidence. You're that £140 million player again. And if there's a man to do that, it's Gerrard, his mate. They're friends, they're good friends. They speak all the time. And you're going to put that little bit extra in, aren't you, on the training pitch? And you want to do your mate justice. And Gerrard will move heaven and earth to try and get into the Bodymoor Reef, and Coutinho will be quick to repay him. So I think the manager-player relationship is huge in this one. Obviously, Gerrard's made contact with him. We all know that. That's no big surprise. So I think that the manager factor is huge. The pull, I don't think Dean Smith would have made this sign. I think we could agree on that one. So Gerrard wants to bring the elite to Aston Villa. It'll raise standards immediately. Make others, whoa, we've got to stand up here and put it in. But I haven't got too many concerns other than, can he rediscover that form? And if he's confident, if the player's confident, if Coutinho's back to his best, he'll be doing that. So I think the relationship between Gerrard and Coutinho, massive.
How about the concerns for the players that are already there? Because obviously there's only so many attacking players that can fit in. If you've got two number 10s and a striker, we're already talking about how do Watkins and Ings fit in together? How does Buendia and Bailey fit in together? Trezeguet, El Ghazi, Traore, then you throw Coutinho in there as well. Does Coutinho hinder Buendia's playing time? Do they play together? Is this Ings up front? Is it Watkins as the second 10 with Ings up front? And then how do you fit them all in? How does that work, do you think? I'll let you go for that, Pax. You've got a raw smile on your face, so you deal with that question.
It wasn't a smile of like being content with it. It was a smile just like, I have no idea. But in terms of Buendia, I can see them playing together. So like you've got Ings or Watkins up top, and then you've got the two number 10s that you like to play off with. Like that 4-3-2-1 type formation. I think if you can get him back far into the levels he was for Bayern a few years ago, I think it was like 5 shot creating actions a game. And then obviously if you've got Danny Ings on the end of those, or Ollie Watkins, but obviously Danny Ings is a bit of a better finisher. I think we discussed that on the last one. Then I think the chances are going to come. I think that's been part of the limitation for Ings so far. So we're just not creating enough chances for him. I think the most shot creating actions this season for Villa players is Buendia with 3. So if you've got Coutinho averaging 5, I think it's a big jump. It's a big help as well. But yeah, in terms of development, you probably look at how it's going to hinder the Carney Chukwuemeka situation for me. So would he look at this and be like, okay, they're investing in the attacking areas, the attacking midfield areas, and I'm not going to get a look in. I'm not going to develop. I'm not signing this new contract. I think he can play as a midfielder as well, but I think that was, as I said, part of the problem at Barca. So I don't think he'll be directly competing with like your likes of Luiz and Sanson and that kind of, or Ramsey in that one. It is the wider players, and you probably would see the likes of El Ghazi and Trezeguet kind of like shifted out slowly from the club. I think El Ghazi's linked with West Ham. I think I've seen a few links to that. So yeah, a few will probably move out if he comes in. Yeah, it's a bit of a domino effect, isn't it? Once one signs and two signs, you start to see things move a little bit. Gig Sharma says, has he signed? The answer is no, so let's move on, because this could all be totally out of date in a couple of days anyway, as the rumour mill goes on and on. The second player I wanted to talk about, and there's people asking about realistic targets and stuff like that. If we could pick 3, who would they be? I like the 3 names that we're going to speak about, to be honest. The second one is Luca Dean, obviously from Everton, left back. Signed a deal in February, but has kind of been ousted a little bit by Benitez. I've seen some of that they definitely want to sell and think he's worth 25 million, which kind of feels a touch steep, but he is proven and comes in and is immediately Premier League ready.
would it be one that you'd welcome, you two? Is he an upgrade on target? Is that kind of the money you expect Villa to spend on a left back, or is this all a bit of rubbish?
Dean's available to be got at. I think Chelsea linked with him as well, given Ben Chilwell's injury. So he's a player who's available. He's a player who'll be on Jan Langer's list, and they'll be assessing that one. But I can't see that one coming off. To be fair, I think the one we'll mention shortly, Aaron Hickey, that's the one. We'll get over the line, I believe. So. Luca Digne, massive player. He's nearly got 50 caps for France as well. Been around the block, Roma, Barcelona. And he was a decent player at Everton as well prior to that fallout. So he's one who's available to be got at that. But I can't see Villa moving plans to go and get him. I think left back is an area Villa want to target, obviously. And Matt Targett's the one who's probably underwhelmed of late, hasn't he? I think people will agree with that one. Matt Targett hasn't been the one of last season and of old. So he needs some competition to bring him on. And I think Villa will address that in this window. And I think Aaron Hickey's the one Villa will go out and get. I think Hickey's well known to Austin McPhee. Pair work together at Hearts. Hickey's come up against Gerrard's Rangers, and he's 18, 19-year-old. He's bagged a few goals in Serie A, doing really well. I think long term, I think Hickey's the one to come in. And it could be this month, yeah.
I think Sky said that Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham and one unnamed club will link with him. And again, you'd probably expect Villa at the unnamed club. Newcastle, loads of money to spend. Chelsea, you've got injury problems at left back. West Ham also, like you mentioned. I think if it was 15 million, you'd be looking at that as I think he's 28 or 29 and go, proven, better than Matt Targett. That makes sense. 25 million for a player that you're probably not going to be able to make any money on in a couple of years. I don't know if that quite fits the mould. And when you compare it to Hickey, not sure whether it makes that much sense. And Pat, I know you've written a lot about Hickey and looked at stats and stuff like that. So I'm going to hand over to you and let you explain whether he'd fit in.
Yeah, I think he'd definitely fit in, and that's probably it's a different kind of tactic. I think it's probably what we've been trying to do in previous years, is buy for a future resale value or just to develop the player. To be honest, I think with Digne, it's you're buying a player that's going to give you 2 years of success and an instant improvement. But with Hickey, it's you're buying a player that can compete with Target, but I don't think he comes into the starting lineup for, I don't think this season, because I've got his defensive stats here. So Target 2.4 tackles, Hickey 1.4, Target 1.83 interceptions, Hickey 1, Target 2.5 blocks, Hickey 2.2, Target 2.7 clearances, Hickey 1.5. So I just don't think he's ready defensively to do the same role as Target. But in terms of going forward, I think there's not a fullback across Europe's top 5 leagues that has scored more goals excluding penalties than him. I mean, he's both-footed. I think averages 26 passes with his left, 13 with his right. Scored that screamer with his right foot. He floods forward. Yeah, he's good on the ball. He is kind of like the image that you picture with a Gerrard fullback, the one that floods forward. But I think they'll slowly mould him in. They'll build in stature, similar to Jacob Ramsey, and eventually will be able to do the defensive role. But at the moment, if he came in, I think he'd just be competition for Target. Like looking about 18 months, maybe be starting. But he's impressed, as Ash said, he impressed Gerrard at Hearts when he came up against Rangers. I think they tried to sign him before he went to Bologna as well. Then they've kept track of him, and I think it was reported today that we've approached him for that, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, Digne, I know you mentioned the 29 thing and the resale value, but I think the main issue people had is that he didn't have enough pace. And I've always thought that one of the best left backs, or the best teams, not the best left back, but one of the best teams I've watched was when Stephen Warnock was overlapping and he didn't have any pace. So he had a bit of a final ball on him that could get a ball into the strikers in the box. So Digne solves that issue that Villa don't have much creation from the fullbacks. And when we do, the final ball isn't that good. But yeah, I'd take either of them, to be honest. Hickey's a bit of one for the future. Digne and an instant impact. But yeah, either would be decent.
The third player that was on my list, there's been a big list of 7 or 8 players, and I've kind of whittled it down into 3 different positions. Romeu from Southampton, 30 years old. Again, just doesn't really fit for me, but he's the only midfielder really that I can think of that's been linked. Apart from Zakaria, who we signed on Football Manager, so we're ahead of the game anyway. Southampton just had a takeover, haven't they, or new ownership or new investment or whatever it was. So one of their first tasks is going to be to sell one of their midfielders. Does that make sense? So yeah, one that's been doing the rounds, but for me, doesn't really add up.
Ex-manager Dave Smith really liked Romeu. He was close to joining in the summer, but the deal couldn't be done there. So whether Villa have reignited their interest, I'm not quite sure, but Yeah, but I'm not getting much names out of the defensive midfield position at present. Struggling for any leaks of information in terms of Villa's shortlist, but it's one Villa want to strengthen, an area Villa need to strengthen as well. So, yeah, I mean, would you be happy if Villa went into February, March, April without signing a central midfielder? Would they be able to cope for you two?
I don't think so. I think if Nakamba's still fit, I mean, there was a stage when Nakamba wasn't in the side where I thought, well, Villa probably need a midfielder anyway because you upgrade Nakamba. I don't think he's that good. And then he got back in the side and looked brilliant. So you thought, oh, we probably don't need one now. The fact that he's got injured means that, to go into the rest of the season without a proper DM.
Yeah.
Luis can't do that job. He's not cut out for it. He's better further forward. You've got to get a DM in there. I mean, that's the priority. I mean, Coutinho might be this nice deal that's available and this nice kind of flashy player, but if you don't have a proper midfield behind him, it's not going to work anyway. So definitely go out there, get a proper DM. Whether it's you have to pay a bit extra to get him in January, just do it. Get the deal done, whoever that is. Matt Smith says Zakaria, Hickey, and Coutinho, and you can push for top 8. I mean, that is a very, very good transfer window, especially in January. Talk to me about Zakaria or Zakaria. I've never got the pronunciation, so if you know, Pat, that'd be great. But again, I know you've done some research and some stats on how he lines up as well.
I think it's Zakaria, and I think he's just a solid. It's probably exactly what Villa need to be in to put in that midfield, to be honest, and allow the likes of Luiz and McGinn and Ramsey to all be pushed forward. In terms of if we were going to sign someone like Romeu, I think it'd just be like a stopgap signing, and kind of like hint to me that like he might be trying a different formation. Like I think Villa have trialled the 4-2-3-1 against Watford and Southampton, and the key part was just someone who's going to sit in front of the defence and like just anchor it. To be honest, so if he's thinking, I'm going to try and switch some things up in certain games, I just need a defensive midfielder that can play in a double pivot, just the two of them. And maybe that's what he's going for, and try and go for like a Coutinho. Maybe Danny Ings drops into just off the striker, and then you got Bailey or Buendia on the right. The 3 like centre attacking mids type things. But other than that, I think Zakaria is probably the best one we've linked to, but I'm not too sure how likely that is. I think I've seen that Bayern, Dortmund, and United are all after him as well. So it'd be a dream one. I think it's probably the one the fans want, but. Yeah, it's a bit of a long shot, I reckon. Well,
if we can get Coutinho, who knows what could happen. Just back to him very briefly. Jason says he believes that Coutinho will choose us over Newcastle. Bearing in mind we've got Martinez and Luiz as South American contingent. And Alistair says that Jesse Lingard will be worth a bid. Can't see him costing that much with his contract almost up. I actually think that Lingard will end up at Newcastle. He'll be the attacking midfielder they go for. Obviously, we don't know anything concrete, but I think Coutinho will end up at Villa. I think just the way Gerrard had that kind of stuff. No, I certainly don't know. I've been at home in my bedroom all day. I don't know anything. Just so that sneaky kind of glint in Gerrard's eye, that fact that they're mates and stuff like that. It's just if Villa have got the finances right, and we can sort out the deal with whatever Barcelona want. I mean, they need the money. They need to register Torres, don't they? So they've got to get rid of Coutinho one way or the other. If it's also Newcastle, it's us, isn't it? I think Matt Smith, it's not an exclusive. I promise you, I know absolutely nothing. It's just a gut feeling. Let's move on away from transfers a little bit, maybe more towards outgoings. Aaron Ramsey, again, don't think he's the fit again.
Already got him, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got the better Aaron Ramsey anyway. Imagine having 2 Ramseys, 2 Chuckmakers. 3 Ramseys, yeah, of course, 3 Ramseys. Anyway, onto Villa's best 11/backup 11. I've got a graphic for this that I made earlier, and there'll be a bit of subjectivity to whether this is Villa's actual best 11, but I'm going to flash it up anyway and talk you through it for the podcast listeners. We've got Martinez in goal, Cash, Konsa, Mings, and a new left back would be our best 11 on paper. New DM would be our best defensive midfielder. Canberra injured. He's very good, mate. McGinn and Luiz as your other 2 midfielders, and then Coutinho as the left attacking midfielder, Emi Buendia off the right, and Ollie Watkins up front. Back up, you've got obviously Steer and Sinisalo as goalkeepers, which just didn't fit on the graphic, but they do exist. Kessler Hayden right back, a new centre back would be your backup centre back after Twanzebe leaves. Courtney Hawes and Matt Targett becomes your backup left back if we sign a new one. Marvellous Nakamba after returning from injury would be your backup defensive midfielder. Sanson and Ramsey is your other 2 midfielders who they're getting minutes to call those backups when they're playing is shows how much squad depth Villa have got. Leon Bailey, of course, a big massive signing in the summer. He's now a backup player. And Bertrand Traore, and then Danny Ings is your second strike. I mean, that's a good second side, isn't it, to be honest? Never mind a good first side, sorry. Never mind calling it a backup.
I'm disappointed, Dan. Where's the Champions League music in the background there?
Yeah, it's a good squad, isn't it, really, when it's written down like that in front of you? There's definitely things you can improve, but that is a good base considering where we were a couple of years ago.
Plenty of quality there, all good ages as well. I mean, excited to see Kessler Hayden return next season. A really good squad. Obviously, the under-23s are coming through as well, which helps. And like Gerrard said, I had a couple of elite players in there, a couple of world-class players in there. They'll complement the youth as well, who are improving all the time. And like you say, we've got a decent squad there to kick on. So covering all positions, I think Villa will need to address a couple of them in this window. Left back we mentioned, centre midfield as well, but not too far off, Dan. I think Villa are well stocked. Just need to go the extra mile now. I think the owners, Nasser Suarez and Wes Edens, they'll back Gerrard to the hilt again. They'll give him what he needs in terms of funds, and he wouldn't have signed otherwise, would he, Dan? So I think Gerrard get a free rein, and I think Villa are onto something.
Is that the best 11, Pat, or is Ings in your best 11?
I don't know. It depends. It's one of those. Whoever grabs it, grabs it. I think when Ollie Watkins was playing up top on his own, he looked stellar, holding the ball up. They've got different aspects that are better to their games, I think. And you could probably play that to your strengths as you go into each opponent, to be honest, because it's not a one-size-fits-all league, is it? So games where you need to make the ball stick up top, you probably play Watkins. Games like Brentford, where we're going to be threading balls through from Buendia and Coutinho, possibly. You probably want Danny Ings on the end of them because he's probably going to put more away than Watkins. But as I said, the depth is just unreal. I've seen a few comments saying, it's time to move away from Trez and Amir Ghazi, and you're probably right, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know what the best 11 is, to be honest.
There's a comment here from Adam who says, I think Dan's been on the beers, and someone else saying that I'm talking rubbish for having Nakamba as a backup. I mean, that's only a theoretical, as if we sign a new defensive midfielder, Nakamba doesn't start games, does he? Because the new man has been bought in to fill that position. To call it backup is probably the wrong word, isn't it? It's competition for places. To say that Target automatically just becomes some squad player you don't care about isn't strictly true. But if you spend 25 million on Dean, Target is your backup. If you spend 20 million on Zakaria, Nakamba is your backup then, because you spent that money on a new starting player. A couple of players that weren't mentioned in that list, you've got El Ghazi, Trezeguet and Ashley Young as your kind of senior players, Archer, Philogene Badace, Chuckmaker and Louis Barry. Out of those 7 players I've just named, how do we assess those in terms of leaving, potential loans, sticking around for backup, for squad players?
Interesting. I think Chuckmaker stays. I think that's a given. I think Louis Barry will probably head out again. Get some minutes for him. Yeah, difficult one for El Ghazi, isn't it now? I can't see way back for him. Obviously didn't get on the pitch at Brentford, despite the 2 lads going to AFCON. I think Joe wanted to have a look at both Trezeguet and Traoré. But yeah, I spoke to Gerrard today about Trezeguet and Traoré as well. He wants them to come back in February and to help Villa push on. He wants them to be involved. So I think they stick around until the summer at least. I think it's up to them to prove their worth to Villa. Because I think I can see Villa going big in the summer. I think next season's the one for them to go at full hammer, and I think Gerrard will be backed handsomely in the summer window, as he will in this window, I'm guessing. But uncertain future for El Ghazi. I think Cameron Archer, you mentioned. I think he needs a loan deal, and he needs to play some football. Because I like him. I think Pat's seen him at MK Dons away, didn't you, Pat? Really good finisher, isn't he? He needs to be out playing football. So a couple of loans out for the youngsters. And I think I'd like to see kind of Chuckmaker to stick around a little bit longer.
El Ghazi, it was pretty telling that he didn't get on the pitch against Brentford, wasn't it? He just sat there waiting, and he's the one staying, not going to the Africa Cup of Nations. But Trezeguet and Bertrand Traoré are playing. I think he'll be off. I think he was linked to Roma as well in the summer. And I feel like every time there's a transfer window, Trezeguet is kind of linked to a return to Turkey. I think his first club was. So I think Galatasaray and Fenerbahce are always trying to get a bit interested in that move. As for that, I think, Cameron Archer, I think he needs a loan move, because I saw him at MK Dons. I don't know what his strong foot is, to be honest, because either way, he just looks stellar. Every single shot is just, the finishing he possesses is just unnatural, to be honest. But and I watched him at Chelsea as well. The header, that was right in front of me. So he's proven that he can do it at the very highest level. So if he gets some games under his belt, the sky's the limit for him. New deal. He needs to start playing football. I think Louis Barry, I don't know what's happening to him. I heard Swindon go join up with Kessler Hayden. That'll be a nice link up. But yeah, I'm not too sure about the rest of them there.
Do you two agree with the comments that I'm being harsh on Nakamba here, calling him a backup? I mean, if we sign a new defensive midfielder this window and he plays for the next 3 or 4 months, he is first choice. Nakamura's backup squad player, competition,
Isn't he out
rotation,
till the
whatever
end
you want
of
to
the
call it.
season?
I think
That's
it's
the
3
end
to
of
4 months is what they said originally, but yeah, it's effectively out for the season, isn't it? So am I being harsh? I agree. He's been very good under Steven Gerrard, but he's unavailable. So whatever word you want to call him as being second choice behind a new signing is what makes him back up.
It's a bad injury as well, Dan. It takes time to come back from that one. Knee injury.
Yeah.
He's had surgery. That puts him back. Gutted for him. He was the best player under Gerrard. Gerrard gave an interview with Sky. He said, I sat down with Marvellous and just look at this. He called it scanning. So Marvellous now, the camera's now getting his head up, looking around the pitch, and you can see that on the pitch with his performances. He's picking the right passes now. He's not rushing his work, and such a shame that he's had a season-ending injury. It's Villa's luck, isn't it? Really, like Cause had previously with Wesley. God bless him, and Leon Bailey's had a setback as well. So it hasn't been good on the injury front for Villa. Players coming into form, then having setbacks. So I think you're right to put him in there. I think, if anything, Nakamura's cemented his place in the Villa squad now. Whereas
for sure, yeah.
Looking previously, I think everyone's thinking, I'll probably get rid of Nakamura, I think we need to kick on without him. But now, given his first half of the season, he's very much in Gerrard's long-term plans. And roll on his return. I think he's a big player for us moving forward. Good age as well. And he's flourishing under Gerrard, and long may that continue. But like you say, I think Villa needs to address that area of the pitch. It's pivotal in terms of if Villa going forward, they're looking a bit leaky at the back. You need a middleman in there to snuff the danger out. And against Brentford, that was the problem as well. And we need to get one sooner rather than later. I don't think Douglas is the answer in there, like we've said, Dan. Morgan Sanson, can he do it? I'm not too sure. I think I've got him further forward as well.
Just on Louise very quickly, I'll run out shortly. A couple of deals running out. Courtney Hawes, one of them. Louise, new contract rumours. Are you laughing at Ash? That's funny. New contract for Louise. I don't know what you're laughing at. I'm going to go to Pat instead. What do you make of Louise, Pat, in terms of his ability and giving him a new contract or not? And Ash, you can compose yourself for a minute.
I think it's really frustrating because every time we start to see a run of games for him in a position that we like we haven't actually seen him have like 10 games in the like number 8 box to box kind of role, or just like a freer role. I think he was against Man City, he was really good there. I think the Everton game under Dean Smith, he was really good there. And then we've had to just slot him after the Nakamura injury. We've just had to slot him back into the number 6 role. So it's quite frustrating that we've had to do that, to be honest. And so if we can sign a DM and push him forward, then we can finally see like a good run of games where we can see what he's capable of. But until then, I'm not really sure. I don't think I'd be selling him. I think his potential is mad. Like Guardiola saw something in him. I don't think they could get him registered with his work permit. So there's a real player in there, and he's shown it in flashes. But I kind of want to see it more consistently. Final
one to end this podcast. Then, like I said, it's been a bit all over the place. State of play of Aston Villa squad in the January transfer window. So I wanted to kind of get your crystal balls out and look ahead to the end of the summer window instead. I'll ask you to look ahead here to a silly amount. But, like we mentioned I think in the previous episode about how summer 2020 we signed that kind of new starting 11, Martinez, Cash, those kind of players that have come in, Watkins as well. You expect Villa to have a pretty sizable transfer window in the summer, if not January as well. So how do Villa look after summer 2022? How many of the current squad are still around? Have you upgraded Tara Mings? Is Target still in there? Is McGinn still around? Do you know what I mean? Like these long-term changes. Who's kind of left, do you think?
You look at your undroppables at the moment. I think Emi Martinez, Matty Cash, Konsa. I think Mings sticks around. Target will be probably backup, or I think backup option. Midfield, Gerrard likes McGinn. I think McGinn's here to stay for a while. So on that long-term contract 12 months ago. Douglas Luiz is an interesting one. I know Pat just went on about him then. 18 months left on his contract. I didn't get the chance to ask Gerrard about him today. Douglas Luiz, what does he think of him? Is he a long-term player for Villa? He's only 23, like we mentioned. I like him a lot. I think there's the ceiling's massive with him. I like to see him stick around. I think Marvellous sticks around. Sanson will be interesting to see how Sanson gets on from now until the end of the season. Still up in the air whether that one's working or not. A lot of promise there. I think Gerrard likes him as well. And then you look at the attacking positions. I think Jacob Ramsey sticks around. Gerrard loves him as well. You saw the Bertrand Traore's, the Trezeguets, El Ghazi's. It's an uncertain time for them at the moment. I think they've got to win Gerrard around over the next four months. And we'll see where we go from there. And I think Watkins and Ings probably stick around next season as well. Bit of our lights up front. But like you said, I think we're in for a big summer. There'll be a few going. I think Gerrard will be backed handsomely by the owners to go at it full hammer next season for those European qualification spots. I think as it stands now, looking at the table and the points difference, it might be too short, too big an ask to get to 7th or 6th. Do you know what I mean? I think it's too big an ask. The best way to do that this season probably go out and win the FA Cup if they can do that. But huge summer. It's interesting that Gerrard went on and spoke at length about that in the press conference just now. He said it's massive for us. I can't wait to get amongst them. Have 6 weeks, 7 weeks together, 4 or 5 friendlies, and really put our stamp on the club. Because he said, I've been learning on the job. I've been learning in games. I've been learning at training. But I've joined in November, mid-season. Not ideal. He's had the last 8 weeks to assess the squad. He's got a little mini window now to add to it. But it'll be a summer of change. That's the way I'll put it. Big summer of change. And Gerrard will be the man to hopefully lead us back into Europe.
In terms of this window, I can see us signing like a stopgap, just backup centre half. I think we mentioned Connor Goldson in the last one, didn't we? Just like a bit of backup. But then in summer, I think we can see like a big investment in like what Gerrard views as his centre back for the future, the one in his mind. And once again, that adds to the pressure. Someone to compete with Tyrone Mings or Konza, but I can't see Konza getting dropped. So it would be the one competing with Tyrone Mings if they wanted to go in a different direction. I know he mentioned that he wasn't going to change the captain when he came in, but that kind of screams to me that he's not like overly sold on him. I know he stepped up his game since his arrival, but it kind of like hints to me that he's not completely sold on Mings as of right now. So I think in terms of big summer transfers, I think the centre-back position would probably be the big sum one for me.
We've not had, obviously besides Jack Grealish, we've not had somebody come looking for our players for a good number of years. If a big bid comes from Arsenal for Watkins, for example, or Liverpool for Ejikons or something, then obviously that affects things as well. But hopefully those players stick around for another year or two, or longer, obviously. We add to it, and as Matt Smith says, the main difference from 2021 to 2022 is we'll have a Champions League squad by the end of that summer. So that'll be lovely. Ash, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, for doing this podcast. There's loads we've gone through and loads more we probably still could talk about, but these things change so quickly that a lot of the things we're talking about could be out of date in a couple of days anyway. Obviously, we're playing Man United on Monday in the FA Cup. Are you going to that, Ash?
Yeah, I'll be up there. Back up there, yeah. Good memories early this season as well. Courtney Horse hammering home the header. And hopefully we can do it again. So, looking forward to it. Monday night, 5 to 8 kick-off, is it? So, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, our next podcast will be after that, probably the Tuesday morning. We'll react to hopefully being in the 4th round draw after beating Manchester United. And if we sign anyone before then I guess we'll do another podcast about that specific player as well. But stay tuned to the Can't Be podcast for all your latest Villa news. Pat, thanks for your time as well. Thanks for all the comments coming through. We appreciate your input as ever. And we'll catch you again in a few days. Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.